Bruce, I've got 7 o'clock. How about you?
We got 7 o'clock here too, Chair.
Okay, you want to go through the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Can do that right now. Robert Hannon,
I'm here.
Richard Berlandi,
Here.
David Fox,
Here.
Robert Eisner, Neil Kelsey,
Here.
Mark Simpson,
Here.
Ned Stachin, Emily Brick, and Robert Canto.
He's here.
Who is?
Cantor
Oh, Canto's here
and Eisner.
and Eisner. All right, give me a second. Maybe they're just coming in.
Yeah, Bruce, this is Robert Eisner. I just logged in.
All right, Robert, got you.
Thank you.
Bobby, you there?
I'm here.
All right, we got you. All right, Chair.
Okay, so Ned is not here, correct?
Exactly.
So assuming that Ned doesn't get here on time for the first item, I'll seat Bobby on it. So we've got our 7 members.
All right.
First item on the agenda is Bulwark LLC on Cold Highway.
Mhm.
I don't know if
I think he was here
Attorney
last.
Pearson wants to start.
Got the minutes?
Hi, yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Robin Pearson. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Alter and Pearson in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and represent the applicant in this matter. At our last meeting, we presented the application to you. We had our wetland consultant on the line. You received our application, which, as we presented, was in our mind completely responsive to the comments that you had made when you denied a prior application for the site. And you did postpone a decision on significance, and you did allow us an opportunity to work with town staff to supplement the record, to make sure that we had the old plans that had been denied made part of the record, as well as the prior and subsequently updated, but prior impact analyses by Land Tech from the last application, also included in the record on this one. In fact, all of that has been done. That is there now. And we also were asked to look a little bit more closely at our proposed conservation easement with regard to this current application. And I think what we have to show you this evening is a change to the location of our proposed conservation easement to address the issue that you raised, which was what is to preclude the applicant from coming back sometime in the near future or far future to ask for the same crossing in order to develop the west side of the site, which crossing we do not want to see made. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave Ziyax right now from F.A. Hesketh to go through that plan change and answer any other comments that or questions that you may have. And hopefully we're going to be in a position tonight to secure a favorable decision from this commission. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. This is Dave Ziyax. I'm a professional engineer and a principal with F.A. Hesketh Associates. Our office is located over in East Granby, Connecticut. And as Robin was pointing out, we did supply staff with all of the documents that were requested. And we had several conversations with our client about what else we could do to improve upon our dedication of the conservation easement, which seemed to be the significant issue still in some of the commission members' minds. And Bruce, would you mind putting up that sketch that I sent you previously?
There you go.
Yes, well, we would, there we go. Thank you. What we would propose to do is to extend the conservation easement down to the state highway right-of-way, which would close off any possible wetlands crossing in the future, preclude that from happening based upon the conservation area. And then the same limits where we had it wrapped around our our facility so that that cannot be expanded at all on the east side. And then we encapsulated the wetlands over here on the west side with a bit of a buffer with the conservation area there. And we think at this point it does what it's supposed to do, which is seals off the level of any possible future development on the east side, and it precludes the crossing of that wetland corridor or any other changes to that wetland corridor that might be proposed someday in the future. So we hope that addresses the concerns of some of the members that came through the comments time period after we made our presentation 2 weeks ago. And we hope you'll accept that as a final conservation easement proposal. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any other questions from the commission members or staff. Thank you.
And if I may just also note that Tony Zemba is also on the line if you have any questions specific for our wetland consultant.
Yes.
Thank you. Rich, I'll start with you. Any questions, comments? I know there are a couple of things we need to do this evening, but start with you for comments or questions.
The only question I had was regarding the septic system. If the applicant was still proposing to use the west side for the septic system if needed, if they couldn't site it on the east side.
Yes, we are still leaving that option on the table in the plans. Again, our hope is not to have to do that. We will work, to the extent possible to put it on the east side. Obviously, we want to minimize any disturbance, be it temporary, but also the expense of doing that. If we're super lucky, and I don't know how lucky I am these days, but if we're super lucky, I might even be able to do it without need for a pump. If I can find a location to feed it by gravity. So that's our our goal as we move forward. But I would still like to leave that option on the table only in the event that we are not successful with the health department on the east side.
And Rich, there is a note on the plan on here, right, Dave? I caught me off guard.
Yes.
There is a note on the plan stating that exactly that the attempt is to try to shoot for the east first. If not, the site located on the plan would be the go-to spot.
Right. Exactly, Bruce. Thank you.
And David, could you remind the commission again, that's a very small septic system given the limited amount of use.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's literally for 10 toilet flushes a day or something like that. I wish the state of Connecticut allowed chemical-based toilets, but they just don't seem to want to be able to do that.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Bobby?
I'm good at this time.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Yeah, I had some concerns about the conservation easement. Maybe I misunderstood last time, but when Commissioner Stachin brought out the idea of increasing the conservation easement on the west side, I was under the impression he was looking for having pretty much the entire west side as a conservation easement. I understand what you're proposing now would preclude a bridge over the conservation easement. But I would think a second driveway would allow that area to be developed at kind of the very dramatic way that the east side is, right up to the conservation easement, with a pretty minimal buffer to wetlands and a lot of impervious surface. So I have a little bit of concern about that.
Well, I mean, the idea is that, any development that would ever be proposed on that west side, be it utilitarian or some sort of commercial development, has to come back before this commission, as a fresh application. And I would assume this commission would be as vigorous in your review of anything as you've been so far. So it's not like we're opening up the entire west side to possible development. It's going to have to go through the same exact process as what we've been going through on this property since the beginning. And, you know, this commission or that future commission would take all that into consideration. But we know we've exhausted the idea of access to this site, whatever could possibly be put on the west side with a driveway only to Route 6 is going to have to be pretty minimal generation and developments. And again, there's the issue of sanitary sewer and future extension of water mains and things like that. It's going to be an expensive, complicated undertaking to try to do anything over there. So, I think the intent of the conservation easement at this point is to deal with the east side and at least a down payment on the west side in the event that somebody was to come forward with something. But at this point, this applicant is prepared to move forward with this reconfigured east side and close off the possibility of a crossing to our driveway, which is going to minimize any potential development on the west side even that much more.
If I may, if this is a real issue that we need to discuss further, because the commission is really considering possibility of a negative decision based on the inability to, or our unwillingness at this point to encumber that side of the property with a conservation easement, we can spend some more time and talk about it. But I think the applicant has been extremely responsive. Encumbering that side of the property was not something that you raised in the prior denial, which of course doesn't limit you to raising it this time, but it seems like it's not something that, we did everything you asked for the last time. And frankly, there were a number of you who were willing to approve it last time before the final vote came to pass. We've met with our client, we've talked about it. The client understands it's going to be very difficult to put anything over there because of the restrictions on driveway access. That's always been the case. That's why they always wanted to be able to have the crossing in order to do that. That eventuality has been entirely eliminated now by virtue of this proposal to encumber that area with the conservation easement. That doesn't mean that that other side of the site might not have some value as who knows what. It could be a solar display. It could be a cell tower. It could be some sort of accessory structure. It could be, I suppose, it might be I was trying to think of low use retail uses. I suppose it could be an Oriental rug store. I mean, there are things that could go there that would not have a negative impact on the wetlands, and the applicant should be his ability to be able to pursue that sometime in the future if they wish to, really should be respected, because they're not proposing to do anything that has a negative impact on the wetlands on that side now. So I think in all fairness, and in terms of reasonableness, we've proposed something now with bringing that conservation easement all the way to Route 6 that really should satisfy your concerns and your regulations and make this something that you can stand behind and approve. There's no negative impact on the wetlands with this proposal.
That's all I have at this time.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Robert?
I don't want to belabor the point on what the potential future use of the west side could be, but I support the perspective that Commissioner Fox shared. I think when we look at the overall compatibility of the development of the site in totality, if we're looking at it from a perspective that highly intense development of the eastern portion and no development on the western portion, that's a very different proposal than a highly intense development on the eastern portion and a potential equally as intense development of the western portion. I think it's a tough parcel to develop for a variety of reasons, but I do think it's within the purview of this commission to consider the overall intensity of development on the site. So that's the end of my comments for now. I think we're at the very beginning of the processing of this application. End of comments.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Neil?
Yeah, I don't have anything further at this point.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
I don't have questions. The only thing I would have is a comment. I'm comfortable with the conservation easement as it stands now. Not to make a pun out of it, but when the development, if it does come before this commission in the future on the western side, I feel like we can cross that bridge when that time comes. And I think to now restrict any development over there, you don't know what the development would be. And I think let the person, whoever comes forward to this commission, make a legitimate proposal. And if we don't like it, we can, as we've done in the past, deny them the opportunity to develop the site. So I'm comfortable with the way the easement, conservation easement is as it stands now. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And Ned, you did pop up on my screen, so I know you're here. If you would like to comment, questions?
This board has a long history of like trying to keep stuff out of, 150-foot upland review area. And this thing flagrantly just flies in the face of it. I mean, the whole thing is in the 150-foot upland review area. And I thought it was a fair trade when I mentioned last week, and I thought it was very clear that my idea was to keep the entire west side as a conservation easement, and that's what I would support. I think we're giving a lot away here from our standard practices, allowing for this section, this storage unit building on the east side. And I thought, well, I don't like it, but I'm willing to trade it for no development on the west side. But that's not what this conservation easement is the way it stands now, is the way they proposed it stands. And I just don't think it's what we're here to do. I think we're here to help protect the wetlands in our area. And I think this would do it, if we kept the no development on the west end. And that's where I stand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Dave, Robert, and Ned. I was hoping to see the whole thing, but here's a technical question to ask the engineer on this project. So assume, for the sake of argument, you cannot put a septic system on the eastern side of the site, and the septic system has to go on the western part of the site. Doesn't that start complicating matters even more for any type of development over there?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Dave Ziyax. Yeah, potentially, obviously, if you go over there and put a septic system that obviously isolates that area from any possible development, building development, things of that nature. But I mean, this is a tiny little area, that the septic system would occupy. But then there's separating, that's one of the problems of locating a septic system on really any commercial property. There's separating distances from slopes, from wetlands, from drainage systems, water systems, so you keep drawing these radii, if you will, around these things. So yes, it's a long drawn answer to a relatively simple question, but yes, it puts a point on that side that you start drawing additional buffers around, restrictions around, that if you don't have to put the septic system over there, that wouldn't exist.
Okay, thank you. Bruce, can you do me a favor? Can you bring up, I guess, from the plan submitted even for this proposal, where the septic system was located? I just want to,
Yeah, right there.
yeah, so the septic system takes up a good part of that site. Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being a 30 by 30, say, foot square, something like that. The force main really doesn't matter. But just in the area where you would do some clearing and putting that little galley system there at 40 scale, it's 20 by 30 or 30 by 30, something like that. But that area there is actually easy to access because where the guardrail stops or the guide rail stops for Route 6, there's actually a gap that allows you to easily walk to or drive to that proposed galley system. That's one of the reasons why I put it there. You really don't need to do a lot of clearing to get to that location. It's pretty clear there right now. So, and it's got a nice separating distance from the flag wetlands. You can see the flags there, 18, 19, 20, 21. We've got plenty of we're way upland from the wetlands. So it's a good, comfortable spot in the event that we have to put it there. But again, our goal is not to spend all the money to put force mains in and all this other stuff.
All right, thank you. I'm happy with the way things were proposed as far as this project, but I'm still concerned about the conservation easement on the west side, because I think that was, at least that's what I took out of the discussion in terms of what people were talking about, because again, the development is kind of intense for the site, which is fine, in lieu of offsetting it by preserving the western part of the site. And I think that was sort of where my intention was. I appreciate the fact that you've gone back, you've looked at it, you've got the 4-story proposal right now. And by eliminating the wetlands crossing, other than possibly the forced main line, and I'm not concerned about that in all honesty. Yeah, it'd be nicer if you can put a gravity system in, because it's going to be a lot easier for the applicant than it would be putting in the force main. But I've got concerns about being able to then go in on the western side. I mean, I didn't think that that was the intent of what some of the commission members were talking about with the conservation easement. And so I think I'm on the same page basically as Ned, Robert, and Dave. At least that's where I was kind of coming from.
Chair, this is the 150-foot upland review line in here,
Yep.
so everyone can kind of understand what's going on. So anything in here would definitely need to come back to the Wetlands Commission. They're showing the line, and Dave, I don't know if I can flip back here. There's really no rhyme or reason. I don't know if it's a contour line that you followed or what, but it would be.
Yeah, actually what I was trying to do is hold the 25-foot line, 25-foot line off the edge, because obviously I have no straight lines here to draw with.
Yeah, no,
we could always arbitrarily, Bruce, pick a contour line too, if with staff, if that was the desire, just to have something to relate it to, because this line is a crooked road. So I wanted to make sure we had all the wetlands in, and approximately where we had it shown before, which was 25 feet away, as a conservation area. But as Bruce pointed out, I mean, basically the entire west side is within the regulatory upland review area of the commission.
So
I don't know, Robin, how do you feel at this point? I mean, it would seem to me it's fairly clear that there's at least 4 members of the commission who, want us to reconsider. So I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. But maybe we need to postpone action tonight and go back and talk to our clients some more. And it's their call. Unfortunately, both of them are in airplanes right now because of various conflicts, so they can't call in, from what I understand. But I don't know, Robin. What do you think?
I think it's very difficult to, I'll be frank, it's very difficult to talk with clients who feel that they listened to you. I mean, they were very disappointed by the last decision, obviously. They listened to you hard, and they made the changes that you laid out for them in that denial. It took a while to get them there, and they respected your decision, and they did it. And the idea of in their mind, taking all of their property on that side, when they have no idea what it could conceivably be used for in the future, that would be something that would be okay and have no impact on the wetland, is going to be a difficult sell. I think if I were to ask, I'm only guessing, if I were to ask Mr. Zemba right now if there's any difference in terms of the impacts, if we had to extend that easement all the way through, we're not proposing anything on that side. So by taking the easement over all of that land, it's not like you're protecting those wetlands from something, because nothing is proposed. Times change. I know what they're going to say. Who knows what might be a viable use without a negative impact on the wetlands sometime in the future. And you're taking that opportunity away from them. That's, in their mind, it's value lost. And I think their concern will be whether losing that really makes a difference in terms of protecting the wetlands based on what they were able to do with this proposal. They moved it all over. They did what you want. They have to come back if there's anything else they propose to do in the upland review area. And it might be very benign, but it could be something that's very positive for somebody some time down the road, whether it's the town or them or some other user of the site. So that's all. I would just ask that you respect the fact that we have to come back to you in the future if they choose to do anything over there that's within that 150-foot setback area. And you're protected that way, the wetlands are protected that way, and you're not depriving them of something they feel very strongly about. That's,
Commissioner Eisner?
I'm representing my client, so I just put it out there.
Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know it's a subtle nuance, but I just want to make sure that the record is entirely clear that we're not dictating anything on the application. We will process and render a decision on whatever application is presented. If the applicant chooses to take feedback on opinions and concerns and modify the application, that's a decision the applicant makes. We're not directing anything. I think the concern that I expressed and many other commissioners expressed is the eastern half of this property is being very intensely developed. So I think it's fair for this commission to consider if that's all of the development for the entire site. So you have an intense development on the eastern side and no development on the western side. That's a very different scenario to consider than there's an intense development on the eastern side and an unknown and potentially as intense development in the future on the western side. That's a very different fact set for this commission to consider. But I do want the record to be entirely clear that our conversation is expressing our opinion, talking about prior decisions that this commission makes, but we are not in any way, shape, or form telling the applicant what to do. Whatever application they present to us, we'll process. And that's a really important clarification for the record to have. So that's the end of my comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Robert.
Chair, if you don't mind, before you close off, I mean, if we run into a stalemate, would an option be to maybe put a larger offset on this side of the, instead of doing 20, do 50? Would that be something the commission would be in favor of, or, something like that?
I wouldn't be in
That
favor
way-
of it.
Okay,
This is
no, I'll
Ned.
just bring it up as an option.
Yeah.
That's all.
I would be all right with, if the, underground waste area had to be included on that side. And we could allow for that if it couldn't be contained to the west side. And then reasonable rights to maintain the system. But I mean, I just think this thing, they're looking at it that this is part two that is just going to come down the road, and they're going to go right back to where they were. So you know, we can't see what's going to happen in the future, but they laid out a pretty good plan of what they have in mind for the future.
Let me at least go back and address one other household issue that we have to take into consideration. And that is whether or not we think that this is a significant activity. We held off on a decision at the last meeting to get some of the older data incorporated into this application so that we were able to look at a full package. Having said that, Rich, what's your take?
From the public perspective, I don't see it being significant, but looking at what's proposed, I could be convinced either way. I'm not really sure how I would land on this.
Okay. And Bobby, you're not going to be voting on this one because Ned is here as a regular member, but do you have any comments or questions?
I agree with Ned. I agree with Robert. I would go with it is a significant impact from a wetlands perspective.
Okay, thank you. Dave? Dave, you still with us?
Dave Ziyax, you mean?
No, Dave Fox.
Yes. Yes, I was thinking. Yes, yeah, Dave Fox.
You're muted, Dave.
There he comes. Oh,
We lost
think we lost him.
Okay.
some technical difficulties.
Robert?
I would say it's potentially significant, and I know the purpose of trying to make the decision is scheduling of a public hearing. So I think my comment 2 weeks ago, and my battery's about to die. Hopefully I make it through before I plug in. My comment last week was, to work with staff to see if there was anything, because staff had spent more time reviewing the application. So things like impacts from blasting, runoff, all of those sorts of things. So I think there would potentially be a significant activity, not definitive at this point.
Okay, Neil?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, is it's on the borderline, so I think potentially it could be significant.
Mark?
Well, I think we have to decide one way or the other. I felt most people are thinking the way this was developed, it was a non-significant development. But I can't vote, a maybe. So I'm going to go with non-significant.
Okay, thank you. Ned?
Well, I think because some of the construction lines are, just feet away from the wetland limits, I think it is, I would vote in favor of it being a significant event.
Okay, thanks. The
Mr.
dilemma
Chair?
going through my head.
Dave is here.
I'm sorry.
Dave is here, I said.
Okay, Dave?
This is Dave. My Zoom crashed and I had to rejoin.
Okay.
I guess you probably called on me and wondering where I was.
Yes.
I'm on the fence as well. it seems that, you know, what we're looking at now, very intense development, lots of impervious surface, very close to the wetlands, is kind of significant. That could be offset by having that entire western side preserved. It would almost be like a cluster development kind of concept. Will allow you to do something pretty intense over here if you save something over there. So yeah, I'm on the fence.
All right, thanks. And, you know, my thought process on this was I was hoping that on the western side, that would be the conservation easement. And with that being the case, we've already had, you know, a hearing on the original layout. The footprint is fairly similar on the east side. The only difference is that it's 4 stories high. So where my concern now comes into play is you basically have the same square footage for this particular structure that you had with the last structure and all the development on the west side. But now if there's not a conservation easement put on the west side, somebody could be coming back for more development over there, which is even more intense than what was originally proposed. And that was one of my issues, that the site was just being developed as 2/10 of a project. So I mean, I was fine going along with not a significant activity as long as we had the coverage on the western part of the site as the conservation easements, because again, I thought that was a good balance on things. I don't think that the intention was to even expand the amount of development on the site than what we originally even talked about. So that's kind of where my dilemma is right now. And again, my preference would be to see the conservation on the entire western part of the site. If they need to put the sanitary sewer system on that side of the wetland, I don't have an issue there. Just need to make sure that whatever is done, they maintain the ability to service that septic system so that that's not a problem. That's kind of where I'm coming from. But if the western site is not going to be under a full conservation easement, then that actually opens up the site for even more development, which is one of the issues I had going forward. Because I was fine with the layout in the east as the 4 stories, and that would be it. But so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, I do not see it as a significant activity if the conservation easement is on the western side of the property. I guess that's basically what I'm saying. So, yeah, from that, I guess,
Mr.
does
Chairman,
somebody want to make a motion as to what is a significant, okay, go ahead, Attorney Pearson.
maybe the best thing to do, because you do meet every 2 weeks, is hold off the decision on significance. As you have explained, if the conservation easement is on the western side also, that goes to the issue of significance and just has the potential for eliminating the need for a public hearing, more time, just everything that's involved in a public hearing. So we'd be willing to have it go over another 2 weeks and see where we are and let you call the question at that point, if that makes sense to the commission.
It does. And I mean, in the meantime, you can work with staff on that to let them know what a decision might be. But we're still well within the time frame, right, Bruce? I mean, even hypothetically, if we had to call a hearing, we would still be in the appropriate time frame, correct?
First meeting, yeah, I would think so.
Starts a different time.
Because we
Even if you,
accepted the
if you are,
application on the first.
Just I gotta remember when they got the application, so we're.
Well, it was
15
accepted on the first.
Yeah, So,
And that would give us, if it ended up going as a significant project, that would give what, the 15th of March, I think?
yeah, if it says if we have a hearing, we've got to commence it within 65 days of the original date of receipt.
Right.
So the next meeting would be roughly, let's say 30 days, so we would only have 35 days to have a public hearing. We'd have to look at the calendar and see if we can do that without having them.
Yeah, I
request an
mean,
extension.
the next two meetings are the 1st and 15th of March.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well,
So-
you have our commitment anyway that we would give you an extension if it's needed.
Okay.
But I don't even think it's going to be needed to get us to the 1st.
Yeah, I was asking just from a technical perspective, whether or not we had the time without requesting any extensions or things of that nature. So, okay, so I think maybe we leave it there. So if you would be so kind as to talk to the client to see what their attitude might be about it. I think you understanding as to where a number of the commission members stand on it. And we'll go from there. We'll schedule it for the next meeting and we'll continue at that point in time, and we'll go ahead and at that point in time render a decision on significance, and we'll go from there.
That's certainly acceptable to us. So thank you for
Okay.
that consideration.
Okay. Thank you. No, we appreciate your understanding on it too.
Mr. Chairman, do you need a motion to table or can we just table?
Just table.
I think we can just table
Thank you.
and we'll continue it on March 1st. I believe that's the next hearing date. Because this is only 28 days this month, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Next application, Town of Farmington.
Yep, similar to, we were approached by the Trout Unlimited again. If you remember, they did some work along the Farmington River. When they did some bittersweet removal down by the Mead. They approached me last week and said they'd like to start doing this section from the Route 4 Trail Collinsville Road parking lot at the intersection of River Road. They'd like to proceed north all the way up to the Burlington town line. They've already got permission from Burlington to go into Burlington. I think they're going as far as the Route 4 169, 179, I always forget. Intersection there. So for Farmington, they're just looking to do this section along here. Again, same thing. They're not looking to do any herbicide painting because they're gonna be doing it in the spring. They are volunteers and they don't want to do it during fall, which is the optimum time because of the amount of poison ivy in there. So they don't want their guys getting all covered in poison ivy. So they're gonna go in there, they're gonna lop off that 1 foot, 2 foot section of bittersweet in the middle and leave it as is. They're not gonna pull down the other vine or anything. So they're in contact with Farmington River Watershed so that they know what they would like to do so they can stay on the same page.
And Bruce, in the past, we've pretty much just allowed them to go forward, right? And there were
Yes,
certain
sir.
parameters in which they had to work under.
Yes, sir, you are correct. I had that listed in the agenda review. We had did that as a right.
Okay, so we'll go around and ask commission members what they think. So Ned, I'll start with you on this one.
I think we've approved it in or similar requests in the past and found no problems with it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so I think it's, a good effort and we should allow it.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Well, they're just cutting the vines. In the past, we approved them cutting and putting some type of painting on an insecticide or something on the vine to kill it. So this is even less than what we approved in the past. So they're just cutting the vines. I see no reason why we shouldn't.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you. Robert?
Agree, it's a positive project for the ecosystem, and I agree in the past that we've allowed not only the clearing, but the spot treatment with herbicides to kill the stump, which you really kind of need to do. So as long as they continue to work with the town staff, it should be a highly beneficial project. I support it.
All right, thank you. Dave?
I support it as well, no problems.
Okay, thank you. Bobby?
Yeah, they haven't had any problems in the past. I agree, no problem. Get it cleaned.
Rich?
I could support this.
Okay, thank you, as can I. So Bruce, we've done this before without needing an application, correct? It's just been by right?
Exactly. If you guys don't feel it's a permitted non-regulated operation, then we need to have to go the application route. So if someone wants to make a motion to approve this as a permitted non-regulated use under section 4.b.1, then we can go ahead with that.
Okay, so would somebody care to make that motion?
So moved, and they should continue to work with town staff.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Ned. Oh, Dave. Dave beat
Okay,
me.
we have a motion on the floor to treat this as a non-regulated activity, working with town staff like they have in the past. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining? Okay. I think I'm at a loss tonight because I don't have access to a printer because I'm in South Carolina and the weather was like 70 degrees here today, so it was nice. Don't mean to rub it in, but
It's
What is-
close to
what
70
is-
degrees here today.
What does 70 degrees have to do with a printing out an agenda? Nothing. You didn't have to bring that up.
I have a laptop. I've got the agenda on my cell phone and I'm looking at you on the laptops. So
All
you're lucky I'm here.
right.
I think next is planners report.
Yes. Yep. Bringing you up to date on these, and where did they go? I had the photos in here. Apple tree. They have gone out there and they have seeded and hayed the entire disturbed area. Okay. Robert Eisner had mentioned to me that they did have the building tented. I stopped out there and they did. What they did is if you drive out, that's all gone now. They just did a stone facade on the building. So I have been in touch with George Logan and I have been in touch with the owner. I've been promised that by next Friday, the 24th, right? Is it next Friday? Yeah, next Friday, I will have a restoration plan in my hand for us to review. And then I plan on bringing that to the commission at the March 1st meeting. So the plan is for us to review that. That'll give you guys a chance to review it, comment on it. If there's any questions, they can get it back to us for the second meeting in March. And then with the hopefully that we can get it approved then, so they can start ordering and doing the work in April with having the work completed by Memorial Day. So that's the plan. Cross your fingers.
All right, thank
All
you.
right.
Now you still have the order against them, right?
Yes. Yep. Have not lifted it yet. Once we give the approval on the plan, we could lift the order to do the restoration work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 402 Farmington Avenue. Just updating everyone. The court has sided with us on Farmington, so that has now been dismissed, and they are now moving on with the application or with the appeal to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So in terms of the wetlands, that has been completed.
But Bruce, let me interrupt. That's as far as Superior Court goes.
Yes.
We
Well,
have we heard anything about whether or not they might file with the appellate court?
no, I have not heard that. And I don't know if they are, let me back up. I don't think. Yeah, sorry. Yes, he can file the appeal. I've worked with two of the court cases and they're both totally different. But yes, I think
Right.
they do have that right. I don't think they're gonna go that right. I think apparently is what it sounded like. So they're on with the planning and zoning. I think there's a hearing scheduled for May, the middle of May. So I think
Okay.
they were waiting for wetlands to finish before they moved on with the planning and zoning.
Thank you.
All right. Area group, the Maria Road application. That application has been dismissed as well. There was some lack of response and movement by the plaintiff. So the judge had asked for one more hearing for the plaintiff to come and voice their opposition. They did not show at that hearing as well. So the judge dismissed the case. All right.
But also on that one, if I remember correctly, they've got a 90-day window.
I'm not sure about the time
I
frame.
thought it
but
was a 90-day window to be able to resubmit, because the reason it was thrown out is because the person failed to appear in court.
Yes.
So I believe they've got a 90-day window to refile.
Okay. But it's only that one person though. I know
Right.
there was some people intervening trying to take over the case and the judge had said no. So it was just the original complainant.
And they were
So-
trying to switch parties at the last second.
Exactly. Anybody have any questions on those two court cases? If not, I can move on to Miss Porter's. Where'd it go? I just had that. Yeah, I had it up. I had the other one up here. I was just trying to get the. Oh, here we go. Miss Porter's is looking to put up a fountain in the Swan Pond. If you're familiar with it, here's Garden Street. Okay. Tennis courts. This was the back entrance they did some time ago. I want to say that was a couple of years ago. We got approval from planning and zoning as well as inland wetlands. They did some parking lot expansion here, some underground infiltration. As part of that, we had them clean out this old pond. It was pretty overgrown with Phragmites and cattails. So they went in there, they cleaned it out. They did a lot of work. They did a very large planting plan. And let me get you back into there. So this is some photos of what it looked. This was late last year. So this is all the plantings they had done around the pond. There's the forebay. All this area was trying to come in, but hopefully it comes in a little better this year with some rain. So their intention is to put a pond in the middle of this to keep the water moving and then to aerate it. This is I haven't been with the commission that long. We haven't done any of these yet. So I guess the question for you guys was they were asking us, is there any kind of permitting that's required for this? Is this something that the planning, or is this something that the inland wetlands wants to see? Or is this something that we could just say is a permitted non-regulated use?
So, Rich, I'll start with you, get your feedback on this.
I would wonder what the effect on the aquatic critters would be with the fountain. Not that I'm opposed to it. It's just if they could just provide us with what the effect would be, that might be helpful.
When they built it, it was pretty much mainly a water quality measure.
Yeah.
From what I have, there was not much of any substantial benefit to the wildlife or anything like that. It just was mainly a stormwater quality cleaning mechanism, because before it all dumps into the Farmington River. So it was all overgrown with all the material. So if anything, it's cleaned up and it looks much better at this point now. So I mean, the pond's just more or less aerated, and which helps with anything in the pond.
Are they proposing a lighted fountain or just a
They propose that they may want to light it. They're going through historic district at this point. You know, because they're gonna decide if they wanna, if a historic district is gonna rule on whether they want to see that part as well.
Can we get it to music so we can make it like the Bellagio?
If that's a condition, we can do whatever you guys want. So,
So Bobby, were those your only comments, or did you have something else to add?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm assuming this is all done for water quality purposes, not for some aesthetic effect, but in any case, it sounds okay to me.
All right, thank you. Robert?
You know, I don't know enough about what's involved in installing this. I would agree that it's probably beneficial to help the water from stagnating, but I just don't know enough about what is required for the installation. My inclination is it probably is significant enough to warrant an application.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
I had the same thought about whether this fountain would suck in, potentially suck in some type of wildlife, whatever is living in that pond, if anything is living in the pond, or potentially will live in the pond. So I think an application might be necessary because, like Robert says, I need more information before I can say, yeah, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
That's
just
all.
so you guys know, the fountains, they're not like maybe in the years ago where they'd have a piping system at the bottom. It's more or less just floated out there. It's floated out there with a wire. And I know, like I said, I don't have any details on how they're going to connect it to the wiring or whatever, but that's how most of these fountains are done now. Just a little, it's a little raft. They float out. It runs. At the end of the year, you pull it in, drain it, and you bring it in for the winter. So.
Yeah, well,
of any
the
help.
thing is, I understand that's what these are. I've seen them and how they work, but somehow there's got to be a pump, even though it's floating out there, there has to be a pump
Okay.
that's sucking the water up to shoot it up in the air. So that's the only thing I worry about, what effect that does have on anything living in the pond.
Nope, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that, I don't know if anyone was aware of that, so that's fine. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Ned?
Yeah, I guess I'm forever. I to my knowledge, they're usually done to cut down on, algae growth and whatnot. And, so I would think could be a pretty small pump, but, I guess I'm okay with it. I mean, if it's turns out to be a bigger project, I'm guessing Bruce will come back to us or something. But if it's a small project, then I don't think we need to see it. If it turns out to be something larger, then I guess we would want to see it. It seems like a pretty small pump and project, so I don't think we have to be too concerned about it. And usually the intentions are good to cut down on the algae and cut down on stagnant water. Which cuts down on mosquitoes. So I'm okay with it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand the intent for putting it in. But Bruce, I'm just wondering, can we get more detail on just exactly what this would entail? So for example, is the fountain going to somehow be attached to the bottom of the pond? Do they have to run in wiring for it with a pump? Are there screens on there? Things of that nature. So that's kind of where I'm coming from on it. But I see Robert's got his hand raised. Robert?
Yep, thanks. Yeah, after Bruce's explanation, I didn't realize it was going to be a floating unit. I was expecting some sort of drawdown and physical construction for a foundation and pump and that sort of thing. So if it's a floating structure designed to improve the water quality, then I would agree with the majority of the commissioners that it's not, it could be a use as of right activity.
So Bruce, have they given you any details on how this will be installed in the pond?
No, this was a strictly at FYI saying, hey, we'd like to put this pond in there. What do we, or this fountain in there? What do we need to do? And we discussed a little bit like that. It would be a floating system brought in for the winter to winterize it and things like that. We have not gotten to more details than that. If the commission leans towards an application, then I will definitely let them know, and they could just mark up a plan showing me, a little more specifics. And just let me know if you'd be looking for a statement from a wetland scientist regarding the fountain, and I can have them do that if that's.
Yeah, because it sounds like some of the commission members have some questions just to make sure how this is going to be installed. Like I made the comment with the pump to be able to spray the water. Is there some type of screening on that? Things of that nature. So it's protective of anything that might end up being in the area. I think from what I'm hearing, if it is, you've got those kind of screens on it. We have those kind of details. It sounds as though most people feel as though this is something that they could just do.
Okay.
But I think people also feel better knowing kind of what they're doing out there specifically. So if they've got some specs, on the type of unit they want to install, something along those lines, it may be better, and we can deal with that at the next meeting once we get a little more information on it.
Okay, we can do that.
But I think you've got enough from us to figure out which way to go.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys, just let me know if the commission specifically wants something from their wetland scientist, I could have them add a letter or something, but if not, I will just get some more specifics in terms of installation, wiring and things like that.
All right, Robert, you've got a question or comment?
Oh, sorry, never lowered my hand. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I didn't look to see that it disappeared and then came back. All right. So, I mean, I think, if you can get a little more information just to verify how this may go in, we can deal with it at the next meeting. But I think from what I'm hearing, if it's a floating type unit and there's some safeguards in there as far as sucking in and chewing up any critters that might live there, we don't have that problem.
Yep.
Then it sounds as though most folks feel as though this is a non-significant activity, and they'd be able to go ahead and do it. I mean, and again, I know that probably putting in an aeration unit is really good to try to maintain some of the quality of the water, which is what we had them do when they went in and refurbished the pond anyway.
Yes.
So in that respect, it would be in keeping with what was requested of them to start with.
All right, then. Sounds
Okay.
like a plan.
Okay. And I just want to verify something. I think we said at the last meeting that the household hazardous waste collection day is March 25th.
I think that was right. I don't have the minutes right in front of me. Do you have the minutes there? I didn't print it out.
No,
It was in the last agenda. Yeah.
yeah.
Throw me-
It's in the conservation commission minutes.
Which I don't have on, which I don't have them on me either. I have the old agendas.
Well, the 25th is a Saturday. I believe that's what you said.
I think that's right. I think
Okay.
you are
All
right.
right.
So,
I just opened the minutes and it is the 25th.
thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Now you're gonna make me start printing the minutes every time I come in here. I never, I said, So
So does that conclude the planners report?
that is it, sir.
Okay. Thus, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the February 1st, 2023 Wetlands Commission meeting. Anybody care to make that motion?
So move, Ned.
Is there a second?
Second, Mark.
Have a motion on the floor to approve the February 1st, 2023 Wetland Commission minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, so what do we have? 8:04, we'll close the wetlands portion of the meeting and open the Conservation Commission meeting.
All right.
I don't think there was too much on the agenda.
No, Conservation Commission is bulwark. You guys are, that's being tabled. So if that
Now,
does,
I
go-
just want to verify something on that. Was that primarily for the conservation easement?
yes, but if it
Okay.
goes to a significant activity, then we'll need to carry that through on the conservation as well.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I don't have any other new business. I do have some stuff under planners report though.
Okay,
I have a couple things. I sent you guys an email right after I sent the minutes or the agenda review last week. I got an email that I forwarded to everyone regarding a annual wetlands from Connecticut Associated Wetland Scientists. They're holding a wetlands science conference on March 9th from 8:30 to 4. All kinds of invasive aquatic, they're going to include invasive aquatic plants, regulatory updates from the Army Corps, prospective Connecticut DEP fisheries, all kinds of information on there. So if if anyone wants to attend, please let me know and we can get you signed up. All right. That's number one.
that's a Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday, March 9th,
March
8:30 to
9th, okay.
4. It's an all-day thing out in Berlin.
Okay, thank you.
Another one is I got a request from a student at the high school. They're doing their CAP project. And as one of their projects, they did some collection of some data for fish populations in 3 different Farmington streams. They've analyzed the data to determine the health of these streams. And as part of her project, she needs to present that information. So she has been working with DEP Fisheries, and us as well. So I have not seen the presentation as yet. I've asked her if she can get it to me before the end of next week, so we could at least look at it, see what's going on. But I thought the Conservation Commission would be a good place for her to do her presentation. So if everyone agrees, we can hopefully put that on for the next agenda.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I mean, as far as the report goes, would she be submitting something electronic to you?
Yes, I told her to submit me a presentation, and I'd like to get it out with the agenda reviews next week. If
Yeah.
not, I told her, look, we'll get it out. If she gets it to me by Friday after, we'll look at it and then we can get it out to you guys on Monday or over the weekend.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people were able to get a copy of it and maybe take a look at it before the meeting. That's all. Thank
Exactly,
you.
and that was my intent too. And again, I just wanted to go over with her what the how we were run and what to expect. So she's hoping you guys will have some questions for her. She'll be able to respond and then hopefully get this closed out and get her project submitted.
If she's asking us for questions, she may not know us very well.
I said to her, keep it to 30 minutes. I was hoping that, I figured she was 5 minutes and you guys were 25. So
No, I'm sure it'll be fine.
yes, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So the only other thing is approval of the February 1st minutes.
Mhm.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the Conservation Commission of February 1st, 2023?
So moved, Mark.
Is there a second?
Second, Rich.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve the Conservation Commission minutes of February 1st, 2023. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? I guess that takes care of it this evening. I've got 8:08. We'll conclude the Conservation Commission meeting.